Before we begin this episode, I'd like to recognize the Harsh Rules Patreon supporters that help make content like this possible. If you'd like to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/harshrules to learn more. And once again, thank you for your support. This is Harsh Rules. I'm Ben Harsh, and today we're going to take a look at the Undaunted series. I got these over the holidays. And we're going to take a look at each of these. The latest one here, just so you're aware, I believe there's a component issue. We're going to take a look at that because a lot of people have pulled these or sent them back. But I went ahead and said to hell with it and just took it. So we'll see how bad the component issue is with that. I've heard that some people don't have problems, some do. So we'll see if I'm able to tell that. So this Undaunted series is by David Thompson and Trevor Benjamin, released by Osprey Games, and it's basically we've gotten one every year. So back in 2019, we got Undaunted Normandy. In 2020, Undaunted North Africa, which I'm kind of excited about because I like the North African campaign, as some of you know, and this Undaunted Reinforcements, which is basically an expansion for both of these games here. So there's more stuff for each of these that builds the game out. I think you can play with 4 players. And what's more interesting is that this has introduced solo rules. So this is something I want to check out and see if maybe we can do a video on the channel for the solo rules. I know a lot of people do not have dedicated wargamers they can play with, so I'm always getting requests to do solo rules so that people can purchase games and play on their own. Let's first take a look at Undaunted Normandy. This is the first one, and right away before we crack the boxes, you'll notice that there's some definite height differences. This one's slightly bigger, the North Africa box, but the Undaunted one's a pretty big boy here. So, but you'll also notice, as I wanted to say, is that the artwork on these are pretty fantastic, and I think that cascades into the games. Let's flip these over and take a look at the backs. So you can see here, this is a game with tiled pieces where you build maps. There's scenarios, and it's kind of a deck builder game, which I haven't done a lot of those, so I'll be interested to see how that works. But just kind of going through the rules, I know that there is a number of your basic World War II staples. So there's scouting, there's combat, there's suppression, I want to say it's either artillery or mortars, but they do have some of that going on. So that's pretty cool. And you'll see in later games there's actually tanks and vehicles. And I think this adds a lot more vehicles to the game, which is why it's bigger. Nothing like no plastic miniatures, sorry guys, but there's quite a few really nice high quality tokens. So let's take a look at these. And then the illustrator that I was appreciating is Roland McDonald, I think, on all 3. So they're pretty nice cards, tiles, dice, tokens, and booklets across the board. So let's take a quick look at Undaunted Normandy and then work our way across with our interest here on this supposed component issue with, I believe what the issue is, I've read, is that the card backs are a different shade, so when you're playing it's obvious where the expansions are, but we'll see how that really plays out. So Undaunted Normandy, and these boxes are very nice, kind of a linen finish or whatever they call it, where it's kind of has a nice texture, really nice boxes. And put that there just so we can see. So here we have, it's like an ad for a game called London, which, that's very interesting. It almost looks like French art, French comic art. London. Okay. I don't know too many of Osprey's games, but these, I like all World War II stuff, so this caught my attention. These are obviously light war games. These are not heavy war games, but that most people on the channel, that's what they like, is the light stuff, so I like it too. So here's the rule book. As you can see, very nice full color graphics. Everything's laid out, organized very well. I've just glanced at the online rule books. I haven't gone through the real one. So nice glossy paper, good looking stuff. And we're looking at lots of pictures and guides, and it's a total of 23 pages, so not bad at all, not a lot of density. Scenarios are in a different book here. If I can get it without screwing it up, there we go. So this is actually a pretty thick book, so quite a few scenarios, but I think the scenarios, see, they have whole pages dedicated visually to setup and the tiles, so they'll show all the tiles and just the ones you need, so it's very visual, a very nice looking scenario book. We'll see if when I go through it, if it clicks. This was kind of my Christmas present this year. I'd known the series had been out, but I just got all the games, so because this one's the new one. Yeah, very cool. So we got those books, and we'll just put this over here. Very nice counters. Some of these counters, you see, they're kind of overprinted. I don't think that's off, but it's just kind of interesting that the actual counter doesn't, it's like they just printed over it and then cut it, and you can see it kind of lops off the head, but I think that's normal. It just looks a little weird. I don't think it's like off center. I did have a game once that I bought that all the counters were off and it was cutting through things, but I think that's fine. They just overprinted just in case the cut moved a little bit, I guess, for tolerance. So we got, these are the Americans, the Germans, and then we have a bunch of 10-sided dice. These are very nice. These are the tiles. You can get an idea of how big these guys are. Very nice looking tiles. Your typical word game stuff, very simplified, so you can play with non-hardcore word gamers, it looks like. And then you have the card deck. So here's what we need to check, because I understand the color on these doesn't match over here, and that's what the problem is. Now, if this thing's sold out, and some of the sites I looked at, so if you find a copy, they have plans to reprint these, but it's not like they're going to have it next week. It's probably like 6 months down the line they can change these out. This is fine. It's the ones in here, I guess. So we're going to keep these out so we can compare. So there's that. Let's move this out of the way. Undaunted North Africa is going to be the same vein except for in North Africa. So we've got an ad for Normandy and The King is Dead by Piers Sylvester. I don't know what that is, but I'm sure it's exciting. So here's another rule book. So this is a self-contained game. This is not an expansion. If you get this one by yourself, you don't care about Normandy, you want North Africa, you should be good to go. Once again, same, except desert terrain and whatnot. So another handsome rule book, as they say, and then a scenario book as well. Very cool. And we got our counters for British and so maybe it's a different faction. The Scorpion faction's escaping me for the moment, but yeah. And then here's some kind of planes and things. So there is some new stuff in here. I also see, looks like we got some bigger cards that weren't in the first one. Maybe this is the Italians or something. I'm trying to remember. Yep, here's some cards here. So you can see these are different. So we'll put them out so we can compare. And tiles. So nice stuff. Now let's get into this other guy and see what we got to deal with here. So this is a big box. So it's going to look a little weird on the shelf with the different sizes, but as long as the heights are the same, it probably displays just fine. So here we got a new rule book. This is for the reinforcements portion of the game. All new stuff to play with. And then we got more scenarios, and that's what I'm interested in, the solo book. So this has the solo rules, so you can play by yourself. So interesting. I wonder, it's got all the scenarios, and then it must have a way of prioritizing what the moves are for the bots. Squared away, and then we got some tiles that are falling out. Oh, here we go. Interesting. Not quite sure what all this is. I haven't digested all this yet, but we got a card or component that fell out, so we got that and Jeeps and things. All right, so here we have some big cards, and I'm not sure what that signifies. We'll have to understand how that works. So that's some new stuff to add on. And these guys, now here's what we need to check. So here's all the cards that would be added to these other games. Now my understanding is the color is jacked on these, or not jacked. It's not the same shade. So let's just see what the situation is. It doesn't look that different. I mean, is the plastic getting in? I don't know. I'm not exactly the most visually. That looks fine to me. I don't know what. Let's try this one. This looks the same to me. Maybe I got a lucky one. I guess it's a little shade, but I can barely see it. I don't know. Maybe people are more observant than I am. I guess that one looks slightly different. I don't know if I'd noticed, to be honest, but people are a lot more sensitive about these things than I am. I guess it's a little bit different. That one is maybe a little, but I mean, you really got to be looking for it, I guess. I was expecting like it to be really different, like light green versus dark green, but to be honest, I don't know if unless these are like replacement ones, but I didn't think that was a thing. I thought they said they would take, you know, like months and months to get replacements. I mean, I can see they're slightly different, but, and like I said, every person's mileage varies. I mean, this one's slightly lighter than this one, but I mean, when you shuffle, I don't know if I'm going to be able to discern like which is expansion and which isn't. If they're if I was sitting across the table from somebody, so I don't know. Maybe people are. That's what they're all wound up about, because there's quite a few people, you know, crying tears and having a fit. And I know the company Osprey did come out and apologize and say they're going to replace it. I guess. I don't know. If you're going to play solo rules, though, like the components are fine. It's the color, is my understanding, is what's off. So I don't know. If that's a big deal to you, then you might want to hold off. Or like, I'll probably, if they're going to give new cards, I guess I'll get new ones. I'll send I think they're going to do a proof of purchase or something, and they'll send you cards to replace it. But I guess I'm really, you guys see that? This one is a little bit darker. But if I shuffle them all together, I don't know if I'm going to be able to see the difference. Maybe, but I don't obsess about stuff like that, so I don't know. Other people are like, no, you're wrong. It's going to break the whole game. I'm like, maybe, I don't know. It is slight shade of difference, but I just can't believe if you shuffle them, you're going to be able to pick them out. Especially if, like here, I've got studio lights on these things, but if I'm in not a perfectly lit room, I'm not going to be able to tell. Cool. But that looks like a lot of fun. I will have to check these out in more detail. So just wanted to share those and see how bad this component issue is. I can see a slight difference, but it's not enough for me to go into full panic mode and return the game. I'm like, well, it is what it is. And it's only, like, I don't notice on these colors. I notice it a little bit on the green. And this one, I can't tell the shade. Of course, my kids say I'm blind, so maybe I don't know anything. Anyway, I'm Ben Harsh for Harsh Rules. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode. If you found this video helpful, please give me a like and share with your friends. To be the first notified when the next episode of Harsh Rules becomes available, please hit the bell icon for notifications. And as always, this is Ben Harsh for Harsh Rules. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.